If 32 pounds per square inch is universal, why do engineers print different front and rear pressures on your door sticker? And why do identical sized tires from different brands behave totally differently at the same pounds per square inch? In this video, we're tearing down the myth that's quietly wrecking ride quality, braking stability, and tire life. I'll show how thermal expansion fools your gauge after a short drive, why TPMS warns too late, and the exact cold pressure routine that locks in maximum road contact when you need it most, panic stops and hard corners. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Same wheel, same size stamp, same car. Set them both to 32 PSI and one squishes over bumps while the other thumps like it's carved from granite. That mismatch isn't your imagination. It's the hidden bones of the tire doing the talking. Size is just the suit. The skeleton underneath decides how much air it needs to stand up straight under your car's weight and braking loads. Tire makers choose different cap plies, sidewall thicknesses, bead fillers, and carcass fabrics. Those choices change how the casing flexes. A stiffer cap ply can clamp tread blocks and resist growth at speed. A softer sidewall compound can let the casing roll more in corners. Swap polyester for a layer of nylon or aramid, and you change the spring rate of the whole tire. So, two 225/45 R17ES aren't equal citizens at the same PSI. One might reach the right deflection at 35, the other at 31, even though the numbers on the outside look identical. Now look at the two pressure numbers you actually see every day. On the sidewall, you'll find a maximum inflation figure tied to the tire's construction safety limit. On your door sticker, you'll find the car's cold pressures for front and rear. Those numbers serve different masters. The sidewall is a ceiling to protect the casing. The sticker is an operating point calculated from axle loads, suspension geometry, and the contact patch shape the chassis needs to steer, brake, and ride correctly. Treating the sidewall number or a blanket 32 as the setting mixes up safety limits with tuning targets. Cut a tire in your mind and compare two brands. Brand A uses a stiffer cap ply that reins in tread growth and pairs it with a higher load index. The bead area gets a firm, tall filler so the lower sidewall doesn't fold as easily. Brand B goes with a more compliant sidewall compound, a different bead filler profile, and a carcass that trades some stiffness for comfort. Put both on the same car at 32 pounds per square inch, and they won't carry the load the same way. The higher load index casing may need a different pressure to reach the same deflection under your car's weight because its structure resists bending more. The softer build might sit down into its contact patch sooner and feel plush, but roll more at turn-in. Load index, speed rating, and ply materials aren't just label clutter. Load index ties a tire's build to the weight it can support at a rated pressure. To carry the same axle load with the right footprint shape, a higher load index tire can require a different cold PSI than a lighter duty sibling of the same size. Speed rating brings in heat management. Stronger cap plies and reinforcements change how the tire expands and where it likes to run pressure-wise at speed. Then there's the car itself. Most front axles carry the engine and transmission, so the front-end load is higher before you even hit the brakes. That's why stickers often call for a few more PSI up front. When you slam the pedal, weight transfers forward and the front contact patches must stay wide and stable instead of pinching the centers or squashing the shoulders. The correct front pressure holds the footprint flat so the brakes bite evenly and ABS doesn't have to clean up a distorted patch. Tire deflection curves back this up. Underinflation lets the shoulders overwork and build heat. Overinflation crowns the tread and trims the grip area. The sticker's cold numbers aim at the sweet spot for your axle loads and geometry. That's why 32 PSI is a myth, not a method. The sidewall gives you a safety ceiling, the sticker gives you the engineered setting, and there's a twist coming that makes even a perfect setting look wrong on your gauge after a quick errand. The heat you added in a few miles. You finish a quick grocery run, pop the cap, and your gauge shows a neat 33 pounds per square inch. Looks dialed, until you realize the tire just soaked up enough heat from a few miles and sun-baked asphalt to add 3 to 5 pounds per square inch that isn't really there when the tire is cold. That perfect number is a moving target and it moves fast. Cold pressure has a very specific meaning. It's the pressure measured after the car sits for at least 3 hours, or after driving less than a mile at low speed. Anything else is a hot reading. Rolling builds heat in the air and the rubber. Sidewalls flex, the tread scrubs, and the carcass warms up like a mini space heater. Park for lunch and the sun blasts one side of the car harder than the other. All of that stacks on top of your baseline and fools the gauge into showing a pressure the tire doesn't have once it cools. Air expands with temperature. As the tire warms, the molecules move faster and push harder on the casing, so the reading climbs. A rough rule is about 1 PSI for every 10 degrees Fahrenheit. That means a chilly morning can show 34 PSI, and the same tire can jump to 38 or 39 PSI after a highway stint in the afternoon. Not because you added air, but because heat expanded what's already inside. Short trips still matter. A quick coffee run can spike you 2 to 3 PSI, and a sunny parking lot can add another couple without the car moving an inch. Here's a clear side-by-side. In the garage at 7 a.m., the fronts read 34 PSI. You head out for a commute, run 20 minutes at freeway speed, and the afternoon check reads 38 to 39 PSI on the same tire. If you bleed that hot tire back to 34, it'll cool overnight and land in the high 20s by morning. Now the steering feels woolly. The front end takes a beat to respond, and the braking zone stretches because the footprint is wrong. The numbers didn't lie. You asked the wrong question. The physics are simple enough to use without doing math. The ideal gas law tells you pressure tracks temperature when the volume is constant. Tires aren't perfect pressure vessels, but the rule holds well enough to guide you. Measure cold, set cold, leave it alone, hot. Automakers publish the cold spec for a reason. They assume a stable baseline so the contact patch shape, casing deflection, and heat generation land where the suspension and brakes were designed to work best. Seasonal swings make this even louder. First real cold snap, you can lose 5 to 7 PSI overnight. The car feels light on its feet in the worst way. The wheel needs constant, tiny corrections. On a hard stop, ABS fires earlier because the front tires are underinflated, the shoulders are doing the heavy lifting, and the patch is smaller than it should be. That happens long before any dash light says hello. Which brings us to TPMS. Most systems wait until you're roughly a quarter below the recommended pressure before lighting up. That's a rescue line, not a tuning tool. By the time you see that warning, you've already traded away grip, added heat to the sidewalls, and lengthened your braking distances. Relying on TPMS to manage everyday pressure is like using the fuel light to plan road trips. Here's the good news. A simple 30-second routine locks your numbers in. Tomorrow morning, use a known good gauge on cold tires. Set the fronts to the front spec and the rears to the rear spec, and stop chasing hot readings. Hot numbers are noise. Cold numbers are truth. That's how you keep the contact patch full, the steering calm, and the braking strong, without waiting for a warning light to tell you what your hands and tires already felt. Next, let's break down the quick way to read that sticker. Split the axles and set pressures that hold maximum road contact where it matters. The right pressure isn't a hand-me-down number. It's engineered for your axle loads and only means anything when you set it cold. Copying 32 pounds per square inch ignores how your car distributes weight and how heat skews readings minutes later. Tomorrow morning, open the door, read the sticker, and use a reliable gauge on cold tires. Set fronts to the front spec and rears to the rear spec. Add a monthly phone reminder and skip gas station gauges. Do this and you get more grip, shorter stops, calmer steering, and hardware that lasts. Cold, correct pressure protects brakes, tires, and suspension, and it makes every mile feel sorted.